No Holds Barred, What If, Special Edition, Video Only Exclusive. JT and Aaron, your co-hosts from No Holds Barred,
Walk
which is
alone.
airs on this pit of danger. Which
Walk
there you
alone.
go.
Walk alone. Isn't that the we walk alone? We ta ta ta. That's what we're talking about tonight. No, you don't remember that song?
I thought you were doing walk alone inside this
No,
pit
that'd
of
be
danger.
I never realized how there were so few lyrics to that song until
Oh
I
yeah, you
heard
don't
it
need them
for 15 minutes at WrestleMania 35.
Yeah, but like in the real hot Batista era of like the mid 2000s, seeing that
Yeah.
live was like really cool.
Oh, I bet it's a cool song. Don't get me wrong, but like I just never heard it for that long sustained, and it's like, all right, it's just
watching that season for War and watching that show. It hit me the funny dichotomy, and I don't want to derail too much, but the funny dichotomy: Batista's the movie star, right? And they say it like Cole even says like Batista like is being a movie star going to distract him and affect this match, right? But he gets a wrestler's entrance. He comes down with the music. He's around the ring. Triple H is like he's the wrestler, and he gets the fucking movie star entrance. He's got the Mad Max. He comes down to the fucking motorcycle. Like, it never makes sense.
nothing about that made any sense. Why?
No.
Why did Batista want to come back and fight the guy he's beaten every time he's fought him?
Yeah, and then get
me what I want.
None of it made sense. He get to murder Ric Flair though. Probably the best
on his birthday or something, right?
Yeah, fuck him. All right, so what if we're here 3 Wednesdays a month? We feed off your feedback. So if you have ideas, put them in the comments here on YouTube, and we will do it on a future episode for sure. Like I said, we're doing 3 of these a month, so we're going through them. This is a YouTube exclusive, so hopefully you're subscribed. If you're watching, please do so you don't ever miss another one of these if this is your first. All right, let's get to tonight's question. It came from our producer, Mr. Timothy T. Taylor, and he says, "What if
Triple T?
What if, I don't know if that's right. I just call him that. What if his middle name was Tim? What if the Nexus
Taylor?
what if it was Toolman? It was literally his middle name.
Toolman.
Timothy Toolman Taylor.
Toolman's.
All right, listen. What if the Nexus won at SummerSlam 2010? Is this question.
So what if what should have happened happened?
Yeah. So let's go back to the summer. So we're in the midsummer of 2010 somewhere in this garbage year.
Yeah.
And
they run this hot angle.
The Nexus shows up on Raw. They destroy everyone. Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan chokes a guy out with a tie.
Yeah,
he gets fired.
That's a consequence.
But he comes back. So let's say this match is the same. Nothing changes up until this point. We get Bret Hart is in it. Daniel Bryan makes a surprise return. He's not with the Nexus. So here's the match itself. We have John Cena, John Morrison, R-Truth, Bret Hart, Edge, Chris Jericho, and Daniel Bryan. A pretty low-key, star-studded team. Against Wade Barrett, David Otunga, Justin Gabriel, Heath Slater, Darren Young, Skip Sheffield, and Michael Tar. This has to be one of those lopsided match. This is like the Fall Brawl 95 WWF version. Like one side is just completely loaded and the other side is just not.
Yeah, but at least the Fall Brawl 95, there were names.
Right, yeah, this is nobody. All right, so let's say this is the match.
Yeah, and it's still built the same way with Team WWF having all the problems and all the tension.
Yes, and at the end, the DDT Cena on the floor, right? So when that happens, who's left? Is it just Barrett?
No, it's Barrett. He beats 3 of them after, if I'm not
Gabriel,
mistaken.
Barrett, and Bryan is
Slater.
It's the only guys left after Bryan goes out are Barrett and Gabriel.
Okay.
Because Slater's gone right before. So Slater taps to the LaBelle lock, and then Miz hits Bryan with the briefcase. He shows up and hits Bryan, and Barrett pins him. So I think the DDT is right after that.
Right. So you got Gabriel and Barrett, who should have just beaten him.
Right. So they DDT him on the floor, roll him in the ring, and Barrett beats him.
Right.
So is
that the only thing we're changing about the match?
No, we can change whatever we want.
I mean, it's the only thing we need to change, really.
Yeah. Well, would you keep Bryan with the Nexus? I guess that's the first question. Should he turn back, fake out that he's Team WWF and that he's really Team Nexus?
I don't like that idea because that's the idea they've done a million times with other shit. If anything, like just keep him in there from the beginning. I think he adds. So here's my whole take with the Nexus. I mean, one of my takes. They all suck. Yeah. Like, and I don't mean they're not talented. They're clearly more talented than me. But look, Darren Young, I'm just going through them as I see them. Darren Young, He's fine. There's nothing really interesting about him. Same thing with Tarver. The only thing interesting is he's wearing that stupid mask. Skip Sheffield is not there yet. David Otunga just wants to flex. Heath Slater is good. He's a good hand, but like he's not a main event level guy. Neither is Justin Gabriel. And I think Wade Barrett is like low key one of the worst main event level guys they've ever had.
Yeah. I think he had some potential.
He had potential, but he was older here too, right? Like, so I think they needed someone like Daniel Bryan, but he was also really popular. So I get why they.
Barrett was born he's our age, 1980. So he would have been.
He's 30.
Yeah, I mean, that's not that old.
It's not that old, but it's that old to be starting, right? Like,
yeah.
At least in their eyes, anyway.
Right. Yeah, I don't. This era sucks so much to me. Like, I don't know what the difference. Like, who even is doing anything? So, Kane and Undertaker on SmackDown having their insipid fucking feud. Orton ends up winning.
Yeah.
Like, so Sheamus wins the belt, or is he already champion going into this?
He won it Fatal 4-Way, I think.
Okay, so he's already champion. Orton beats him for the belt the next month. Barrett's in the match. So, does Barrett win the belt there instead of Orton?
The next month after this?
Yeah.
Ugh, I don't know.
Night of Champions 2010. Orton wins. Orton wins a 6-pack to win it. Then at Hell in the Cell, Barrett beats Cena by pinfall, where Cena has to leave.
And then he has to join the Nexus. And then the next month, it's like Barrett's fighting Orton, and if Barrett doesn't win, Cena gets fired. They fire Cena. They bring him back the next night or the next week or something.
Yeah,
like, it's just a mess. What they end up with is just a mess. Now, if they were to win, does any of that bullshit happen? Do they need to go and get John Cena on their team? Because I think that's the part that kind of I think there is an argument made that none of them were very good, and that's a problem. But there's also an argument made that like Cena having to spend so much time with Cena during this era never does anyone any good.
No,
because he's just rolling over guys, right?
So here's my idea from the time. I'm sorry, were you done before? Because this is going to divert us.
Divert.
Okay. This was my idea at the time. Now it's kind of coming back to me. One of my favorite angles in WCW all time, which we've covered recently in Wrestling Warzone, which is every other Monday, was Roddy Piper revealing that Eric Bischoff was behind the NWO.
Oh, yeah.
So you have the Nexus kind of run rampant. You have them keep it just like they win at SummerSlam, but stay rogue. Don't make them part of the fucking roster. Like, just have them continue to attack people randomly. Model it after the early days of the NWO. Like, they're not contracted. They're NXT only. So this was a one-time match at SummerSlam, and that's it. So they're not in title matches at Night Champions. They're ruining the title match at Night Champions. They're beating guys up. One man, and then at Survivor Series, Wade Barrett takes on John Cena one-on-one. So they burn it till Survivor Series.
Yeah.
And you can either have it be Cena or Bret Hart or whoever the hell you want it to be. Maybe they're trying to recruit someone. Like, I don't know, come up with a young guy that's on the roster at that point. Morrison, whoever it is. They're trying to recruit another young guy to say, hey, come to our side. You've been screwed all this time. You know, I don't think Miz works, but someone like that. And they reveal that the man behind the Nexus is also the man. Have they already done the anonymous GM at this point or no?
Yeah, I think it's happening now.
Okay. So the man behind the anonymous GM is the same man who brings the Nexus in, and that's Michael Cole. And that is how you kickstart Michael Cole's heel run up until Mania, is that he's the heel voice of the Nexus. He brought them in. And then I think what you do is you got to give them their Hogan. So who is the big name that's going to turn and lead them? They kind of get there eventually with the new Nexus and all that other crap, but because they're not big enough. So Punk is the guy I'm thinking. So Punk joins them and becomes their Hogan sooner. Wade Barrett beats Cena at Survivor Series, or you redo the 6-man, redo the Hogan turn at Bash of the Beach where it's 2 guys against Cena, Orton, and Sheamus, or whatever it is. Yeah. Punk comes out, and Punk ends up being the guy. He turns, and he's going to lead the Nexus. Cole was the mouthpiece and kind of behind it. If you don't want to do Cole, bring fucking a McMahon in, whatever you want to do. But
I don't.
Think, right. Who was there an NXT mouthpiece at that point? Was it Dusty still? Like, who's the NXT guy?
What about Regal?
Yeah, Regal's a good one too. Like it's gonna be someone in the office that's a talker.
Yeah,
I only pick Cole because they're turning him anyway. So
yeah,
like just have him be the GM and he's masterminding. He's the only guy that's been at the booth through Raw through all this. Like so it makes sense logistically. And I figured that if you want to keep his heel thing, which they're seeming like they want to do, that's like a natural way to do it.
yeah.
And he's got an army to protect him against Lawler and whoever else.
I guess I just don't want to see more of him. I don't want him involved in storylines. Like I would argue that with Cole involved is actually worse than what we've got.
Right.
And I think what we got is already. I like the idea of putting someone like a Punk with them earlier.
Well, there is another option. I kind of mentioned him. I mean, Miz has a really good run in that winter stretch up to Mania too. So you could make Miz the guy.
Yeah.
Because it feels a little Hoganish. Like, hey, I was an outsider who didn't really get a chance until I forced myself to get a chance.
Yeah.
And I was the outcast in the real world, and I worked my way up just like you guys did. I busted my ass, and I'm going to give you the chance I didn't get. Because he can talk, and he can fight. If you do Cole with them, you can still do Miz and Lawler in the winter, which was really good. And you have Morrison as a natural foil. So now you can still get to Miz Morrison if you want. Miz cashes in Money in the Bank. Nexus helps him win. So maybe he cashes in on whoever in the winter. Yeah. And then you do Cena Rock, which you should have done, or Cena Undertaker. And then you do Miz Morrison with Nexus behind Miz.
Yeah.
Lawler's in Morrison's corner and he beats the shit out of Cole instead of doing a match.
Yeah. Don't do that match.
Yeah.
I mean, look, if you could also, that's better than what they got. I think I just worry about the Miz not being big enough. Like if you're going to do something like this, you need a
main event's WrestleMania.
Yeah, but come on, it's a shit main event. No one cares about it. No one likes.
Maybe it's better if you do this.
I agree. It's probably better. But I mean, if you want to put Nexus on the level of NWO, let's say, which is what the goal should be, right. I don't know if he's big enough. You need someone bigger. You almost need Cena to turn. Like, you need Cena or, if you could get him back, Batista.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, because Batista would be great. Like,
you need another guy who came up through the system. And because what you need someone to complain is that the old guard who think that their way was better holds down the younger generation. Yeah. And you have some other guys there you could throw in. Like you got Carlito hanging around.
Yeah.
Even a Morrison. Like you got guys that like came up through developmental that you could say like we were a generation that you're screwed. Kennedy, like MVP. Like MVP's a great talker. Maybe it's him. Like you got guys that could join and you become developmental versus old school Jericho, or I guess Orton's kind of developmental. But you got guys, this again to be a good guy to stay on the other side.
Or
Orton could be the guy.
Maybe the truth of it is that the guys they picked, they should have picked those guys you're talking about.
Right.
Instead of Otunga and Young and Tarver and all of them, you do Ziggler, you do Kingston, you do Miz, MVP. You do that group that got fucked over. And then there's more realism to it, right? Then
you can still bring in these other guys. Like they say, hey, they go down to recruit. Like, hey, guys, like, we're fighting the good fight for dudes like us that we followed the system that they put us in. Yeah. And, we got fucked because the old guys wouldn't get the hell out of the way. So now we're going to take the old guys out of the way.
Yeah. And if you wanted, and then you start bringing in guys like Wade Barrett that they bring in as like heaters, right? Oh, we found this awesome dude. Or you do something like you get these guys like some funding and it's like Barrett funding them or something, right? Like, that's how you can bring these guys in.
And I think that you keep Brian as the indie guy, you keep Punk on the other side too, because you almost have the old school came up the right way guys versus the cookie cutter developmental guys that were playing within the system that never got the chance they were promised in developmental.
It's essentially the New Blood feud, but done well.
And it's almost a little bit of legacy mixed in too that we get later.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really answer the question, what if they won? Truth be told, like not to simplify it down to nothing, but if they won,
nothing.
I don't think really like, I think the stuff that changes is like, Cena doesn't get as much hate. Like his legacy's looked at a bit better because
he's already hated. I think it's a footnote because when you look at him, none of the guys were anything, and it's not because they lost that match. You mentioned it, none of them had the potential to be.
No,
Ryback is Sheffield is Ryback is the only guy that really gets there.
Yeah, but that's different. Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, you could maybe get more out of the Nexus as a storyline, but are you ever going to get everything as hot and as exciting as that first attack? Probably not.
No.
But I really do think it's just because of the people involved. Like, who
Right.
you take out Daniel Bryan, who's the most talented? I guess it has to be Barrett, right?
Yeah.
But even Barrett, like, think of all the gimmick changes that guy went through, right? Like, he was the bare knuckle boxer, then I've got some bad news, then the king. Like, he's another guy like in the vein of like Seth Rollins, or who the hell was the other guy we're talking about? I was talking about this with Marcus the other day. Like, just guys that like they kept throwing shit at the wall because nothing was working. Triple H,
Even Sheamus a little bit too.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if the world changes. Like,
I don't think so. I think it's one of the ones we've had where I don't. The specific question, they win, nothing changes to me. It only changes if you dramatically change the angle, and that means changing who's involved, which we talked about. Like, that means putting other guys in there instead of them. So.
Yeah, because I mean, when you think about it too, like what are their biggest moments? Like, okay, Ryback had some. Heath Slater's biggest moment is like being scared of Brock Lesnar.
Right. Or 6 years later, him and Rhino.
Yeah, but even then, it's a tag. You know, like it's an underdog tag team story. It's not even like a dominant tag team story, right?
No, and him and Gabriel have an okay tag title run or whatever.
They're fine. So, yeah.
But no, none of them do much.
Now, I think you could maybe make the quick argument, not to get derailed, if they do win, maybe you can get away with not doing all the bullshit John Cena stuff that comes after. Like, maybe they separate them from them a little bit. And I think that's what ended up hurting the Nexus even more, is that follow-up is so pointless and boring and ultimately leading to nothing, right? Yeah. Fuck the Nexus.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, hopefully you enjoyed that one. If you have any other what if suggestions, be sure to leave them in the comments. We'll be here 3 weeks a month. And of course, you can find us every Saturday on No Holds Barred. Subscribe here on this YouTube channel. Also check out our audio feed on any podcatcher application. If you check out just North South Connection, we're also all over social media. So be sure to subscribe, leave us a like, share the news, the bad news, all the good news. That's it. Dookie's dropped. All right, we're out.